This is the most dangerous thing on the planet. You can't see it, but if you breathe it in, it will kill you. Welcome to my channel. Today, we're answering the question, what is the most dangerous thing on the planet? There are many things that can cause death. Venomous snakes, malaria, even your own immune system. But today, I want to talk about something you probably don't think much about. Something that seems innocuous, almost lifeless. It comes from the Earth's crust, and has been responsible for thousands of deaths. This silent killer is volcanic ash. Volcanic ash is one of the most dangerous things on the planet. Volcanic ash is made up of rock and minerals that have been pulverized by an eruption. And it's fine, extremely fine, which allows it to float through the air for long periods of time and travel huge distances. It is so small that 99% of it will not pass through a 45-micron sieve. For reference, a human hair is about 70 microns wide. Volcanic eruptions are ranked by how high the ash plume goes into the atmosphere, which is measured in the Volcanic Explosivity Index, or VEI. The higher the index, the more explosive the eruption. During an eruption, a cloud of gas, steam, and pulverized rock is blasted into the atmosphere. Some eruptions are very tall and some aren't. The 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens was a VEI 5 with an ash plume that reached 32 kilometers into the atmosphere. Mount Pinatubo's eruption in the Philippines in 1991 was a VEI 6 with an ash plume reaching over 35 kilometers high. And in 1815, the Indonesian volcano Tambora had a VEI 7 eruption that sent its ash plume 43 kilometers into the atmosphere. That's more than twice as high as Mount Everest is tall. Ash plumes don't always reach that high. For example, the 2010 eruption of the Chilean volcano Pyroclastic sent ash just 6 kilometers into the atmosphere. But how high an eruption sends ash is less important than how far it sends it. Once ash enters the atmosphere, winds can pick it up and move it around the globe. In 1991, Mount Pinatubo sent 2 billion cubic meters of ash into the atmosphere. Most of it fell near the volcano. However, the Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology recorded ash falling in Malaysia, Taiwan, the U.S. state of Hawaii, and even as far away as Western Australia, more than 3,200 kilometers from the volcano. A lot of ash fell back down near the volcano in what is called a pyroclastic flow. Pyroclastic flows are a mixture of hot ash, lava fragments, and gases that race down the side of a volcano at speeds up to 160 kilometers per hour. They can travel several kilometers in a matter of minutes, incinerating everything in their path. But volcanic ash doesn't always fall during a volcanic eruption. Sometimes it can take years for the ash to make its way out of the atmosphere, gradually falling back down to Earth as a layer of ash over the land around the volcano. Layers of ash can build up over time. In the highlands of Papua New Guinea, there are layers of volcanic ash up to 8 meters thick. On the island of Ambrim, there are layers up to 15 meters thick. Volcanic ash can also fall far from the volcano. When Indonesia's Mount Galunggung erupted in 1982, ash fell as far away as Perth, Australia, more than 2,000 kilometers away. So how exactly does this fine powder manage to travel so far? Because it's so light. Fine volcanic ash particles can stay suspended in the atmosphere for months. A single particle might float for 2 years. Even when they eventually fall back down, they could be hundreds or even thousands of kilometers from the volcano. Volcanic ash can stay suspended in the atmosphere for such long periods of time because each individual grain is so tiny. These particles are less dense than air, meaning that gravity doesn't pull them down as quickly as larger objects. They are also subject to forces that push them up, including updrafts created by uneven heating of the Earth's surface and convection currents within the atmosphere. Additionally, volcanic ash can absorb sunlight, which heats it up and makes it buoyant. Warm air rises, which lifts the ash even higher. These factors combine to suspend ash particles in the atmosphere for a really long time. But after months or sometimes years, these particles get heavy enough to fall back down to Earth. When large amounts of ash fall over a region, it can have serious consequences for humans and the environment. People can be injured or killed by inhaling the ash or having it come into contact with their skin. Crops can be destroyed, and farm animals can die. Ash can also contaminate water supplies, making them unsafe to drink. So how exactly does volcanic ash kill people? The main danger of inhaling volcanic ash is that it can cause breathing problems. When people breathe in ash, it can irritate their lungs and make it difficult to breathe. This can be especially dangerous for people with asthma or other respiratory problems. Volcanic ash can also cause skin problems. If it comes into contact with skin, it can cause severe burns and even lead to organ failure. In addition, volcanic ash can make its way into the eyes and ears. If it gets into a person's eye, it can cause a burning sensation and even lead to blindness. If it gets into a person's ear, it can cause pain and even hearing loss. Perhaps even more dangerous is the fact that volcanic ash can contaminate food and water supplies. When large amounts of ash fall over a region, it can bury crops and kill farm animals. This can lead to food shortages and economic hardship for people living in the area. And if the ash makes its way into water supplies, it can make the water unsafe to drink. Drinking water contaminated with volcanic ash can lead to a range of health problems, from stomach pain and vomiting to kidney failure and even death. The most famous example of volcanic ash killing people happened in 1980 when Mount Helens erupted in Washington state. The eruption was one of the deadliest in U.S. history, killing 57 people. Some of the victims were killed by the eruption itself, but others died later from injuries related to the ash. The ash from the eruption caused widespread damage to crops and livestock. It also contaminated water supplies, leading to health problems for many people in the area. Another deadly eruption happened in 1315 when the Japanese volcano Onzen sent a massive pyroclastic flow down its slopes. The flow killed an estimated 1,000 people who were caught in its path. But what might be the deadliest volcanic eruption ever happened in 1626 in the city of Herculaneum. When Mount Vesuvius erupted, it unleashed a pyroclastic flow that engulfed the city. The flow killed an estimated 5,000 to 10,000 people who were caught in its path. The victims were likely killed instantly, although some may have survived the initial impact of the flow and died later from injuries. But some people don't need to be caught in the path of an eruption to be killed by volcanic ash. When Mount Onzen erupted in Japan in 1991, one of the pyroclastic flows that raced down the mountain was unusually fast, traveling at a speed of more than 100 kilometers per hour. But this speed didn't kill anyone. Instead, it was the deadly gas that accompanied the flow that killed 43 people. The gas was composed mainly of carbon dioxide. As it flowed down the mountain, it displaced oxygen from the air, creating a suffocating cloud. People who breathed in the gas quickly lost consciousness and died. In the end, it seems that breathing in large amounts of volcanic ash is the deadliest threat posed by volcanoes. When large amounts of ash are released into the atmosphere, they can pose a serious threat to the health of those who breathe them in. But most of us will never have to worry about this because there are not many places on Earth where this happens. There are around 500 active volcanoes around the world, but only a few erupt every year. And even when a volcano erupts, it doesn't always release large amounts of ash. Of course, there are exceptions to this rule, such as Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines, which released 2 billion cubic meters of ash into the atmosphere when it erupted in 1991. But even in this case, the vast majority of the ash fell near the volcano. Only a small percentage traveled far enough to pose a serious threat to human life. But volcanic ash isn't the only thing we should fear. There are plenty of other dangers lurking on our planet. What do you think is the most dangerous thing on the planet? Let me know in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. Thanks for watching.